Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. It is Pam Esquire, also known as your Law Intellect. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. My internet is a little unstable. That's why I was waiting to see if it was going to stabilize a little bit, but apparently it's going to go off and on here. So hopefully it doesn't do it while I am live. But nonetheless, if you are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Make sure you do me a favor. You know the protocol. Hit the like button so that we can get in this good algorithm. And also hit the subscribe button if you have not done so already. I see as you guys start coming in. It's me. Hey, good to see you. Granny the Great, good to see you. Dang. Yeah, peace. That doesn't sound very peaceful. You said this is sick as F. Jay-Z is owed an apology in all caps. You couldn't say that more peaceful? Like, it is a shame what has been done to Jay-Z. He is owed an apology. You sound very, very disgusted. But you can't be more disgusted than Jay-Z because he is not letting this situation go. And if some of the allegations as they're being said in the document is true, then what we do know is that Jane Doe might be in some trouble. Jane Doe might be in some trouble, and we have to see what she has to say. Hold on one second. So we are going to go over a new lawsuit that has just been filed today in Alabama, because I believe that's where Jane Doe resides, and it is against Jane Doe. It is against Attorney Busby, and it's also against the law firm, and I believe there's another individual that is on there too, who we will figure out who they are as we read through the documents. For those of you that are not aware, very quickly, we know Diddy got hit with a slew of lawsuits. Now what Busby is doing is filing the majority of them over in New York State Court, where he is actually admitted to practice. So what he is doing now is, it was in the last couple of weeks, even after this Jay-Z situation, he has continued to file lawsuits against Diddy. I guess standing on his business that he said he had about 100 or so, or whatever he was ready to file about 3-4 months ago when he first started this whole Diddy filing. Well, one of the lawsuits he had, Celebrity A, who we later found out was Jay-Z. Jay-Z actually sued Busby in California State Court, which is still going on to this day. So what Busby did in response to the lawsuit for defamation by Jay-Z in California State Court is that he responded with an anti-slap, which is the motion to strike that we went over to try to dismiss this case. And so Jay-Z responded to that, and there was an affidavit about how it affected his life and how, you know, his family and kids and all of the things that were connected to this lawsuit being filed. And what they do in California is the judge usually gives a tentative ruling. So they'll let you know before the hearings, they'll let you know. Before the hearings, they'll let you know, like, Could you stop? I'm trying to focus here.
You can't blow me a kiss back? Thank you.
Okay, so what they will do is they will let you know what they anticipate they will rule on without you knowing, like without making it definitive. So they give a final order. So based on a tentative ruling, it sounds like the judge is going to let some cases go with the Jay-Z defamation lawsuit. They're going to let some proceed against Busby in California. So we thought maybe it'd be over. Well, apparently it's not over. Jay-Z has now sued in Alabama federal court. Y'all keeping up? I know it's a lot. In Alabama federal court, Jay-Z has now sued Busby again and also added Jane Doe. Now, what I think is interesting is one of the things that we talked about over here previously was we know that Busby was not admitted to practice in the Southern District of New York. He is admitted into the bar of the state of New York, and he is also admitted to practice in the Eastern District. However, he never got any type of admission in Southern District. So either he has to try to apply to get admitted or he has to pro hoc in. He probably could just get admitted. He filed all these lawsuits and apparently had never got permission to practice. And because of that, the judge in the Jay-Z case, because it was Jay-Z's attorney who found, noticed that he wasn't even supposed to be practicing there. Because of that, he had to file for admission. There was a grievance that was filed, and the judge basically was like denied his admission and said the reason why you won't be admitted is because you filed a slew of cases in the Southern District without actually getting permission, and you affixed your name signatures to these documents without getting permission. So in some of my commentary, one of the things that I mentioned was I said, you know what? The timing of this makes me feel like Busby really dismissed this case because he couldn't practice in the state court in the Southern District anyway. And who's going to take this Jay-Z case? So even though they were saying, oh, this is bogus, that's why I was dismissed with prejudice, I had to bring out on here, which I did, but he couldn't practice anyway. So he kind of gave the look of the reason why he dismissed it was because he couldn't practice in the Southern District. So I think Jay-Z wanted to make it clear. And the way to make it clear was to sue Busby and Jane Doe to make it clear that these were bogus allegations. And what he's saying is allegedly Jane Doe admitted that this was something that was orchestrated by Busby. That's what's being alleged. So thank you so much for the super chat. You said, I'm sorry, I just feel so bad for him. And we as Black people couldn't see that this white man and woman targeted him. Busby is a racist Trump supporter also. So what I will say, y'all, peace again. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. The Jay-Z case, I will say from the beginning, was suspicious to a lot of people. You have some people who are salacious reporters, I guess, and they kind of want to believe everything bad about these rappers and whoever else. But the people that actually, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to speak for myself. There are even some allegations against Diddy that sound a little far-fetched. Am I saying all of them? No, I wasn't there. The problem is that people always look at you like you victim shaming just because you don't just jump and automatically believe someone that makes the allegation. And the reason why that is dangerous, and that was the dangerous portion of the Me Too movement, while it also caused liberation for some people, it also caused wrongful accusations against other people. I am in a position with what I've do and what I've done, especially when I did criminal law, was where I see where some people have been wrongly accused, and I've seen some that have actually been accused and they may have done it. So I've seen it on both ends. So I don't automatically look at it like, oh, Jay-Z had to have done it. Was it a big story when it came out? Absolutely. We all were jumping on it like, what? We heard speculations that Jay-Z was celebrity A that was in the complaint, but this kind of confirmed. And then I saw the lawsuit when Jay-Z first sued Busby before he was named in the complaint, with anticipation that he was going to be named in the complaint. He was John Doe. So, but we kind of speculated based on them giving his background of who he was. We was like, okay, that sounds like Jay-Z. So, but with Jay-Z, I think he got a different response than what Diddy did. I think with Jay-Z's situation, his attorney was on it immediately. The next day after it was filed, they were already filing letters. They already was doing press conferences. Like they knew what was going to happen because Busby he sent a demand letter first and told them what these allegations were. So they kind of had a jump on it for whenever it came out on how they were going to combat this. Of course, they were hoping it wasn't going to come out. But I think when you view the public's perception of Jay-Z, he got a different perception. Like his was received differently. I think more people were believing that the facts weren't facting and the math was not mathing on his case. So I think it was totally different when it comes to Jay-Z than with Diddy. Everything he come with, people like, he probably did. That's kind of like how they're looking at Diddy. So now Diddy is starting to do the same thing where he's suing people. So he sued the people that did the documentary on him. One of the documentaries, I think it was on Peacock? One of those documentaries he sued. He sued one of the attorneys that has been a part of this, filing some of these lawsuits. So now Diddy is doing the same thing. So it's a different error in the legal perspective, because we haven't seen where lawyers and law firms and all of them are being sued because they feel like they are just dragging people's name for money. Like this is a money grab. So, but thank you again for the super chat. I know that was a long explanation, but hey. Dang, KK Scorpio said Jay-Z needs to. Do you know what kids he got out here he's not claiming? Did he take paternity tests or something? Or is that speculation? You know what I'm saying? Is that speculation? We're just assuming that this grown kids, I guess, that are alleging he's the daddy is the daddy. So we have to say what it is. It's alleged. That Doe 1 through 10 and or 1 through 10 are in all of Busby's cases. Well, the reasoning for doing those is because, and organizations, is because when they sue Diddy, Diddy does have a slew of different companies. It's not uncommon for you to have a parent company and a bunch of subsidy companies up under it. And so I think that's why you do the Jane and because you may end up going into litigation. That's the point of discovery, is to discover things you don't know. And part of that discovery may be that we find out Bad Boys was just a pseudo name or something he was using out here, but it really wasn't a corporate name, or it was liquidated, or it was bought by somebody, or he's not even the owner. Like, you learn a lot of that, and you can get into who owns what and when you get into litigation, because you do have to do corporate filings and all of that when it comes to federal court. So I think that's what the unnamed people are, is just in case when they get into litigation, they find different people that they may not have known, or different companies that they may not have known. Thank you, Sassy Experience. She said the good sis Pam tried to tell the folks there wasn't a settlement. Y'all rather argue than learn. Tell the people, Sassy. They were arguing me back. It was I smell settlement. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way, because Jay-Z and his attorney is out here talking too much, and you're not going to be talking like that if there's a settlement. It's not going to happen. That's going to definitely be a part of anything, and it's more beneficial to Jay-Z if that happened, because to say the person that pays the money, because that's what you're saying, for them to say you can't say anything about it, because you don't want it to look like, because people automatically feel like you did something wrong. They don't never look at it for what it is. Sometimes settlements, people do cost benefit analysis, and they're like, instead of paying Pam $200,000, I'd rather just get them $50,000 to go away. That happens a lot, not just in any type of civil litigation. They do cost benefit analysis. Insurance companies, a lot of people do it. So they usually have clauses that it has to be confidential. And the way immediately Jay-Z went in calling him a 1-800 lawyer and all of that, I'm like, nah, wasn't no settlements. And then, of course, the attorney said we didn't pay one red cent. But I mean, you can take his attorney for whatever, but you wouldn't be able to come out here and say that if it really was a settlement. I told you, if it was a settlement with all that talking that Jay-Z and his attorney did, Busby would have been came out here and clarified and said, oh, I got money. I don't know what you're talking about. But no, that didn't happen. So that's why I knew. I was like, no, it wasn't a settlement. Thank you so much again. Thank you. Yes, please make sure you hit the thumbs up for me, please. Because somehow we out this algorithm, because I'm going to get a whole bunch of, I didn't get any notifications on the replay. So welcome to all the people on the replay, because that's probably where the majority of you guys are going to come from. But Judon said, it is interesting that the only thing that the feds have leaked as evidence against Diddy is possessing excessive amounts of baby oil. And that's another thing, y'all, with Diddy. One of his attorney, which is Mark Garagos' daughter, she was on a podcast and she said the facts that we have out here about the criminal part is just all wrong. Like, she was like, the evidence they have, which means, of course, the trial is almost set and they have to come, I think in a week or two, they got to give like the enterprise letter and all of that. But for the most part, they've gotten pretty much all the discovery. So they know what, and the tapings and all of that. So what she was saying is that is no celebrities on no tapes. She said a lot of this stuff is basically these Busby lawsuits and these civil lawsuits. There's nothing about minors. It's nothing about any of that. But what people are doing is they're conflating the civil lawsuit with his criminal case. And it's two different situations going on. The criminal, we know, is talking about some things that have to do with Cassie and these alleged parties that she talked about. So she would have been like she's probably the star witness for that case. But the civil cases, they're all allegations and really nothing has been proved. So they're adding the salaciousness to it. But we don't have any indication that the AUSA is using any of these people's testimony in his criminal case. So yeah, with Diddy, it's just, I think people just do seem more prone to believe the stuff related to Diddy for some reason. You said, I hate to say it, but Judon is kind of right. Just some receipts to baby's IRS. And then his attorney talking about what, Costco's. He had a bunch of them because of Costco's, a lot of the oil. And then Costco's was like, don't put me in it. I don't know nothing about it. And Peggy said, it's so sad. If he didn't have money, they would be charging Jay Diddy's lawyer is doing better. Everyone deserves a fair trial. Yeah, he's innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. However, it's just a lot of salaciousness. These lawsuits almost makes it impossible. First of all, everybody probably in New York knows who Diddy is, young or old. So you got to deal with that. Then if they're on the internet and they're watching a lot of the videos and the media runs and the papers and the headlines, how do you really get a fair trial? I don't know. This is something big around the world. This isn't just here. But especially in New York, where he's like from. So yeah, I don't know how he can get a fair trial at this point. I think people have made up their mind about him. So they have to really, I think with the Diddy trial, they're definitely going to have to get a consultant, a jury consultant, who is going to have to almost vet every single juror. They're going to have to ask very methodical, psychological type questions to get the biased jurors off. And they're going to have to try to get those jurors who are willing to just follow the law. Just look at these are the elements. These are the facts. I applied the facts to the law. I don't think it works, or I do think it works. I think he's guilty or not guilty, but based on the jury instructions that we got. So it's going to probably be one of those long situations to get a juror. It's going to take a minute to impanel a jury. Kelly said, I think that Cassie video hurt Diddy. It did. It actually was brought up a whole lot for his bond. I think if that video didn't come out, he may have had a better shot to get out on bond. But that video with Cassie, it was a wrap. I know, Bobby. Here come good evening. I didn't receive a notification. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. Raynette said, what's with Sarah for making the band a $60 million lawsuit against? You know what? She has one of the people who I believe Diddy is suing, who was representing the court or was there for the Courtney Burgess person that claims that he had videotapes and Kim Porter left him the real book and all of those shenanigans that was going on that you guys seen around a lot. Ariel Mitchell, I think, brought this lawsuit. I don't know, because I watched the documentary and I would never try to minimize somebody's experience, but it wasn't a $60 million experience. Okay. So from my understanding, they have added like the cheesecake incident, the one that I hate when I said the reason why I didn't like Diddy off of that, making the band. Where they walked the Brooklyn Bridge, just kind of talking about how mean and cruel he was and all of the incidents. But that was literally on television with a whole production company, you know. And I just have my theories on Sarah, like at this point. So Sarah, she's not, so she was married when she was on Making the Band. She was the one that was married, and she always like, I got a husband and kids, like you heard it a lot. And Sarah is remarried to some guy. And if you go on their Instagram, he does a lot of the postings and everything is Sarah from that Making the Band. And I think she does have like a cosmetic situation going on. She did have some music that she was trying to push. And honestly, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of people, we haven't heard from a lot of people from Making the Band. I think they're using this as a way to be visible again. That's just my opinion. But good luck, you know, trying to get $60 million when we know Cassie only asked for 30 for 9-10 years. So good luck with that. Right. Good luck. But anyway, thank you so much. Hit the like button so people can know that we're on. Look at Elite Leo doing the whole, it's a conflict of interest. I don't think, his attorney, they kind of was saying they're pushing Jay-Z. To me, Jay-Z has been distancing himself. Even his attorney, when he did a press conference, his attorney said him and Diddy weren't friends or something. I'm like, come on now. So they're distancing themselves. So I doubt that Quinn Emanuel, which is the law firm that represents Jay-Z, Rock Nation, so also represents Meg Thee Stallion in her lawsuit as well. I doubt that Diddy would even be on the roster. Too much of a conflict. There's a video of Sarah on social media saying she wasn't abused during Making the Band, so this will be interesting. Girl, send me that video right now, because I don't even want to put her, because you know she from Detroit. I be loving my Detroit sisters, but I feel like when you go to her Instagram page, this is my perception. I feel like when it comes to Sarah, I don't know who her husband is, but it seems like a lot of it looks to me like a capitalizing situation. Like he was doing little skits where it was like, when you find out, you know, all this stuff about Diddy and you marry somebody from Making the Band, then she comes in and he looking at her with suspicion and all of that. And she's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You know, like they were making, I'm not going to say light of it, but it was a way, and I'm not mad at it. Like, same thing with Latasha and Tamika from Escape. Latasha did her thing with that whole residual challenge. We was like, what? I was calling people I knew, like, girl, that's know her. Girl, I didn't know she left Rocky. I didn't know that her and Tamika, but then she's using it to catapult because nobody was thinking about Latasha after what happened with the show and how she did Tamika on that reality show. We saw a whole different side of everything because Tamika usually stood up for her sister. She never went against her sister. She probably risked money, gigs, everything to be on her sister's side. And I guess once she got to a certain, she like, I'm living below where I could be living, fooling around with my sister and her husband. So, of course, today Tasha went on, I think it was the Big Tigger show, and she was explaining stuff, and she was saying, oh, with my husband is private, because some people were saying they still together. I think Tasha's using this as a way to catapult so she can get back in the eye. And I feel that that's what a lot of people do when they're not as relevant to today's time. Not saying that, to take away what you've done in the past or whatever for the music industry, but not as relevant as it becomes to right now in today's time. So her honey had the camera and was asking her, I don't think the video can be found. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think she's married to him, but it felt a little cloutish. Like it felt a little clout chasing to me. And that's what it looked like with him. That's what it looked like. I don't know the man. I don't know if, what he does for a living. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe he got his own little money on the side. I don't know. But it looked like a little clout chasing. And that's how the whole Instagram looks to me. So when the lawsuit came, I don't think it got a whole lot of movement. I don't think a whole lot of people talking about it. I ain't really talk about it when I just kind of I seen the documentary. So unless she's trying to add additional stuff on there, I don't really see, right. Exactly. That's what it was looking like. So anyway, good evening. Good to see you. Good to see you. I am going to, let me pull up this lawsuit because we've been yapping for 30 minutes and see what this is. So this is the lawsuit that was filed over there in the Southern District of Alabama. Yes, Alabama. And so the intro just says A, false, B, malicious, C, strategically and tactically calculated in time to inflict maximum pain and suffering on Mr. Carter, and D, in conspiracy with multiple attorneys, including defendants Anthony Busby and David Fortney. So apparently both attorneys just got it, who, like her, were soullessly motivated by greed and abject disregard of the truth and the most fundamental precepts of human decency. These are the only truthful and fair description of Jane Doe's and her lawyers' malevolent efforts to assassinate the impeccable and lifetime earned character of Sean Corey Carter, who is professionally known as Jay-Z, but more importantly is known as dad and husband and son and a human being who did nothing to deserve or elicit the wanton depraved attack that Jane Doe and conspiracy with her lawyers launched to extort Mr. Carter beginning on November 5th, 2024 through a menacing private demand letter. Doe and her lawyers, Anthony Busby, David Fortney, and Anthony G. Busby, LP, then brought before the world an in-court complaint, the impossibility and indeed absurdity of which was surpassed only by its vile malevolence in a desperate attempt to leverage Mr. Carter into an extortionate payoff, which these malicious actors presented as the only path for Mr. Carter to prevent the public prosecution of a lawsuit by Doe. Whew. When their initial extortionate demand letter failed to yield the financial windfall they sought, and after Doe and Busby, with whom she had never spoken before the demand letter was drafted and sent, that Mr. Carter, quote, did not actually assault her, Busby, quote, pushed her towards going forward with the false story against Mr. Carter to make the case better and get them, the lawyers, and her more money. Specifically, Busby brought Jay-Z into it. So they got quotes, it sounds like, alleging that Jane Doe is saying that they got her to say Jay-Z was a part of this. That's not good. Happy Monday, Miss Buckeye. Good to see you. Busby then went forward with naming Mr. Carter with full knowledge by him as imparted to him by Doe that Mr. Carter had never assaulted Doe, and Doe's entire story as it related to Mr. Carter was completely fabricated. Doe has now voluntarily admitted directly to representatives of Mr. Carter that the story brought before the world in court and on global television was just that, a false, malicious story. She has admitted that Mr. Carter did not assault her and that indeed it was Busby himself whom she met for the first time at a coffee shop in Houston on the day of her maliciously false NBC News interview, which is discussed in detail below, who pushed her to go forward with the false narrative of the assault by Mr. Carter in order to leverage a maximum payday. This just sounds absurd to me. So you're telling me what you are alleging against a licensed attorney who took an oath and whose bar card would totally be on fire. What you're telling me is that he never met this lady, and he did say that another law firm vetted this lady. But the first time you met her was the same day that you had her go on NBC interview, which blew the whole case to pieces, because of the things she was saying was not mathing and matching up with what was going on at that time. And you, as an attorney, thought it was a good idea to let someone you just met, who you don't really know their credibility because you haven't really talked to them, you haven't had a really good chance to like gauge them in person, look and see if there's eye contact. Look and see how much twitching they're doing. Look and see their history of any type of mental health issues. Nothing. And you put her on national television without even meeting her? That just sounds absurd to me. That's just very hard for me to believe. That is crazy to me. But that's what's being alleged in this here lawsuit. To compound this egregious harm, just last Friday, Busby's and Fortney's co-counsel, a prominent New York attorney in the now dismissed false action against Mr. Carter, threatened Mr. Carter's counsel to double down with yet another false public statement by Doe if Mr. Carter publicly revealed her admission and Busby and Fortney's misdeeds in Mr. Carter's pending California lawsuit against Busby. So now what you are telling me is that some people, Busby's co-counsel and some other attorney, threaten you, the one who's been going around getting, investigating this stuff, who've been going hard in the media and in the courts since this was filed, and threaten you and said, you're going to have her make another statement if you come out and tell that she admitted that it was false in the California lawsuit. This is messy. This is this would have been a reality show. Fortunately and clearly unexpectedly from their perspective, Doe, Busby, and Fortney were met with nothing but righteous resolve at every turn by Mr. Carter. He stood steadfast, publicly decried the lies being put forth against him, and beat the evil conspiracy among malicious Doe and her malevolent, soulless lawyers, not soulless lawyers, driving them back into the shadows from which they came, resulting in the voluntary dismissal with prejudice, without settlement, of their false and malicious complaint on February 14, 2025. Mr. Carter does not commence this action lightly. Following Jane Doe's admissions that she fabricated her claims against Mr. Carter, her lawyers have continued to seek to hide this reality, including through further extortionate threats and demands by Busby, Fortney, and their New York co-counsel on February 28th. Even after all this, Mr. Carter does not expose his malicious and wrongful accuser's identity in this complaint, seeking to maintain her anonymity as Doe. But the extortion and abuse Mr. Carter by Doe and her lawyers must stop. I just don't see. I mean, I know Busby, he seemed like he a tough guy. He from the military and all of that. But at this point, you know how Jay-Z's lawyers are moving. So I just don't, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around that he would really be threatening them to do certain things to them if they do A, B, C, D, and E. I don't know. It's just hard for me, but it's just me. Because you know how Queen Emanuel is rolling at this point. You saying you done had about 5-6 lawsuits filed against you from former clients. You've had a few little issues. You having the issue being grieved because you didn't actually have admission into the Southern District. Like, you see how they're moving, and you still making it seem like you gonna do something if you go to the public and tell them that Jane Doe was lying. Why wouldn't you think they wouldn't go to the public and say she lying? Why wouldn't they do that? So this was last Friday, I guess, when all this stuff happened. So over the weekend, they was like, this lawsuit was just filed today. So they drafted it over the weekend. They do not work. They are team no sleep at Queen Emanuel. Weekends, what's that? We don't need any weekends. So the parties are Jay-Z, Anthony Busby, the law firm, Jane Doe, she's a citizen of Alabama, so that's why it's filed there. Do they got the Fortney person in here? I don't see him in here. It got Jay-Z, Anthony Busby. Oh, defendant David Fortney is an attorney affiliated with the law firm. So they got him over there in paragraph 12. They talk about jurisdiction and all of that. Based probably off of diversity, I would assume. And the venue is appropriate because Doe lives in the district. And then Busby and Fortney provided legal services to her. And it's between citizens of different states. But see, the jurisdiction and venue, Busby law firm, though, how does that work if the law firm and Busby are both in Texas? That might break they might break diversity, but we'll see. We'll see. Allegations common to all claims for relief. Let me see what you guys are talking about before I move on. Dude is a wordsmith. Yeah, or he got some good AI one. Weekends are fun. Get the best work done on the weekend. Is Jay-Z's lawyer related to Rahm Emanuel? So Jay-Z's lawyer's name is Alex Spiro. The specific lawyer, the law firm is Quinn Emanuel. Who Quinn Emanuel is, I don't know, but his attorney works for Quinn Emanuel. He may be I assume he's a partner or something. He probably got some type of beneficial ownership in it. But Quinn Emanuel is probably, I would assume, a known name or something, has some type of notoriety out here. But yeah. You said, I believe it if you're dealing with a racist. All right, y'all, peace. Okay. I just can't. Okay, let's get back here. Make sure you guys hit the like button, please, as you guys get on in here. These are the allegations common to all claims for relief. After hiring the Busby law firm, Doe falsely accuses Mr. Carter of sexual assault in written correspondence, court filings, and on global television. Doe appears to be suffering from personal and financial hardship. She lost custody of her children, and her parents, who on information and belief support Doe, recently filed for bankruptcy protection. I mean, I told you Quinn Emanuel was getting all up in your drawers, okay? You get Quinn Emanuel, they going in every nook and cranny and gonna know all about you. Desperate to obtain a payday, Doe hired the Busby law firm, which has a long history of whipping up a media frenzy with vague and sensationalized claims against public figures to extort payments from Mr. Carter under the threat of devastating harm to his reputation. As discussed below, Doe first attempted to extort Mr. Carter through an extortionate demand letter and an anonymous lawsuit, both from Busby. When Mr. Carter refused to capitulate to Doe's baseless demands, Doe doubled down by using the justice system to attempt to ruin Mr. Carter by formally naming Mr. Carter in a complaint, making horrific false allegations. And when that also failed, Doe resorted to defaming Mr. Carter on global television. A simple Google or other public record search of Doe by Busby and Fortney would have cast doubt on her credibility by revealing that, among other things, A, less than 90 days before sending the demand letter, she had been in court on mental health related issues in connection with her second-degree assault charges and had her bail revoked for failing a drug test. Not a simple Google search. So 90 days before this lawsuit was filed, the demand letter was sent, she was in mental health. She was having mental health related issues in connection with her second-degree assault charge and had her bail revoked for failing a drug test. My. B, that's why I was saying, well, you know what? I guess I asked the questions in the beginning and this lawsuit is answering them, because I just could not wrap my mind around that you wouldn't be looking into this type of stuff when you make these allegations before filing a lawsuit, knowing you're going against somebody that got enough money to go on the mat with you until the very end, to paperwork you to death, to get every expert out there, and got nothing but the money and the time. So why, before you go into the ring with a Jay-Z, wouldn't you make sure your I's and your T's are crossed? That's why I'm like, did y'all go to law school together? And you guys were in trial skills and like Spiro beat you or something? I'm like, what is this? Because to me, it doesn't make sense for you not to vet a person. And they're saying now all you had to do was Google and you can see the lady got issues. Sub B, she has several mental health disorders and takes multiple medications, according to testimony from her psychiatrist laid bare in public court records. My. And C, she made 3 other sexual assault allegations, which were either dropped or dismissed by the court. So clearly Jay-Z is filing this to make a point, because he ain't getting a dime out of the lady that don't have no money and whose parents take care of her and they file bankruptcy. He is proving a point to the public that no, this man did not dismiss this case solely because he couldn't practice in the Southern District. It's because he didn't have a case in the first place. And see what the civil lawsuit is probably doing over there in they're pulling up public records. But the civil lawsuit would also get them subpoena power for getting information as well that they needed to get, that they wouldn't turn over but for subpoenas as well. Because, yeah, it's crazy. Doe sued Sean Combs entities in Doe's 1 through 10, alleging that she was actually assaulted at the after party following the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards. On October 20th of 2024, Doe sued Sean Diddy Combs and his business entities, as well as Doe's 1 through 10. Although Doe's lawsuit also implicates unnamed Celebrity A and Celebrity B, Doe did not formally name them as parties. Instead, Doe only sued Doe's 1 through 10 as defendants. In her original complaint, Doe alleges that when she was 13 years old, a friend dropped her off at Radio City Music Hall in New York so she could try to attend the Video Music Awards. On September 7th of 2000, although she was unable to talk to her way into the VMAs, a limousine driver purported to work for Combs invited her to an after party. Later that evening, the limousine driver took her to a large white house with a gated U-shaped driveway about 20 minutes away. After accepting a drink, Doe claims that she felt woozy and lightheaded and found what she believed to be an empty room. Doe alleges that Combs and Celebrity A actually assaulted her while Celebrity B watched. It has become evident that Doe did not initiate this legal action with a legitimate purpose. Instead, the lawsuit was filed with the intent to extort Mr. Carter. You know, now it's sounding like she just got some problems. Like, if you look at the dockets in New York, they sue celebrities, and typically they get dismissed because they'll do a pro se because not a lawyer is going to take your case. So they'll sue. I've seen Jay-Z, Beyonce, I've seen Nicki Minaj, I've seen all these people in these lawsuits, and the court just dismissed it because clearly by what they're saying, it sounds like you're having some type of psychotic episode. So they'll dismiss it. And it happens a lot. Right now, you can go over to the New York courts and go to their, put in some celebrity's name and something's going to come up, and it was probably dismissed because people file against them with these stories or these imaginative stories that they have in their head, and they'll file lawsuits against people. And so usually the courts just drop them because they're pro se. Now, what happens as a lawyer, you almost get the benefit of the doubt because they know that we are supposed to affirm when we fix our name to the bottom of the pleading that we have properly investigated and we think that there's a real claim and it's not frivolous. The bad part about this is if you can Google and find out all these ladies' issues, why, and that's not saying just because you have mental health issues, you don't have valid allegations or whatever, but I do think you should look into it, especially if you've accused a couple of other people of the same thing in the past and the courts dismissed them. That is something that's important to look into as to the credibility of your client who has to take the stand and give her story. Sometimes you don't even take clients because you're like, oh, they make a horrible witness. So for somebody to say, I don't know, it's just hard for me to believe that he was just affixing his name to stuff and didn't really know like how true or didn't know who his client was. It's just hard for me to, but this is what's being alleged. A few weeks later, after filing her complaint, Doe through Busby sent Mr. Carter an extortionate letter dated November 5th of 2024 containing false allegations of vile conduct by Mr. Carter. Some of the allegations in Doe's letters were from the public complaint Doe filed against Combs and Doe's 1 through 10, which contained inconsistencies that were later changed when the complaint was amended. So he did change like some inconsistencies in the amended complaint, with the obvious implication being that she would amend her complaint to add Mr. Carter if he refused to pay. Doe threatened to take a different course if Mr. Carter did not commit to a confidential mediation to resolve this delicate and important matter by the deadline of November 19th of 2024, giving Mr. Carter only a 2-week window before she would go public with her false allegations. To avoid both public and criminal exposure, Busby stated that his client wants something of substance by way of a settlement. However, Doe had already sued Mr. Carter, albeit as one of the Doe's 1 through 10. Doe's plan was thus clear. She was demanding that Mr. Carter either A, pay something of substance to stop her from making public the wildly false allegations of sexual assault that would subject Mr. Carter and irreparably harm his reputation, family, career, and livelihood, or endure the financial and personal ruin. Doe's statements and correspondence made clear the immediate and extensive threat of exposure if Mr. Carter fails to pay. So do we think that Doe has the capacity for this elaborate plan that they're saying is happening right now? Because either we say she lives in La La Land, she don't really know what's going on, or are we saying that she's a mastermind and she was able to use this as a plot and a plan to do some type of conspiracy to take down Jay-Z and ruin his reputation. Like, do we really believe that she is this calculated? Like, I'm just like, Busby was a successful attorney from Beyonce's hometown. Yes, I'm aware. That's why I said it's not even like, that's why I said, did y'all go to school together? Did y'all date the same chick? Like, what is the beef? Because I looked into some of the, Busby has been a part of big lawsuits. I don't think Busby is short of money. So that's why it's not making sense to me. It's not like he's an out here struggling lawyer. He is out here making decent money. So how would it benefit him to be grieved, disbarred, suspended, whatever the punishment is, just to come after Jay-Z? What would be the incentive? That's what I'm missing. And I just don't believe Jane Doe has this capacity for this elaborate plan. But hey. Auntie Eva said, I wonder if Busby has a grudge against Beyonce, her dad, or her mother. I don't know. Unwilling to capitulate to Doe and Busby's extortion on November 18, 2024, Mr. Carter filed a lawsuit against Busby for extortion and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Mr. Carter explained that Busby was shamelessly attempting to extort exorbitant sums from, this is crazy though, because look, on November 5th, when they did the letter, that's one of my daughter's birthday. Then on November 18th, when they filed a lawsuit, that's my other daughter's birthday. It's crazy. On December 8, 2024, humiliated by Mr. Carter's lawsuit, Busby encouraged Doe to file, and Busby and Fortney filed. So, let me see. I'm sorry. On November 18, 2024, Mr. Carter filed the lawsuit against Busby for extortion and IIED, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Mr. Carter explained that Busby was, quote, shamelessly attempting to extort exorbitant sums from him or else publicly file wildly horrific allegations against him. Then on December 8, 2024, humiliated by Mr. Carter's lawsuit, Busby encouraged Doe to file, and Busby and Fortney filed a First Amendment complaint revealing that Mr. Carter knew all along that one of the Does was placeholders for Mr. Carter if he did not pay her ransom. In Doe's First Amendment complaint, Doe makes wild, horrific, but utterly false allegations against Mr. Carter, substituting him for celebrity A from the earlier complaint. Sub D, Doe goes on global television falsely accusing Mr. Carter of sexual assault. On December 13th of 24, NBC News broadcasted portions of an exclusive interview of Doe, which was conducted with Fortney by her side. NBC News honored Doe's request to mask her identity. NBC News published story excerpting interviews it held with Doe. And then it got the information where you can find it. During the interview, which was set up by Busby, was given on a voluntary basis. I thought that was ridiculous. When she did the interview, I was like, why would she do that? Why would you put your client out here to do this? Anyway, and it actually helped Jay-Z because everybody, that interview is what made people be like, okay, this lawsuit, this ain't it. These facts are not facting. The math is not mathing, and the receipts are not receipting. That was the lawsuit. That was the part of this lawsuit that I think more people were confirmed that we didn't believe this lady. During the interview, which was set up by Busby, was given on voluntary basis and in the presence of Fortney, Doe lied about Mr. Carter to a global television audience. In addition to attempting to explain the impossible, how she, as a 13-year-old from upstate New York, wound up in Manhattan at a private VMAs after party with countless celebrities, Doe told NBC News how she spoke with musicians Benji Madden and his brother at the after party. She recalled talking to Benji about his tattoos of the Last Supper because she has a religious background, so it was something to talk about. And the thing is, this lady might believe all of this, okay? But we know she has some mental health problems. So these stories may have happened in her mind. Doe repeated her claims that while at the after party, she had a drink that made her feel woozy, after which Combs and Mr. Carter took turns aping her while an unidentified female celebrity watched. Doe told NBC that following the alleged sexual assault, she found her way to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home. She states her father did not ask her what happened, what she did, or where she was. Instead, they rode home in silence for 5 hours and 47 minutes. Welcome, Sassy to the intellects. Sub 2. All of those allegations against Mr. Carter were demonstrably false. Those allegations about Mr. Carter are false and defamatory, and her mendacity is clear, including to the reporters at NBC News. First, although Doe stated that the assault occurred at a residence, Mr. Carter was at no such residence. Indeed, NBC News located photos of Mr. Carter from the evening showing him at a party at a commercial location, the now closed Lotus nightclub in New York City, Exhibit 3. Of course, a private nightclub cannot be mistaken for a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway. That included a large living room or foyer, a hallway containing several rooms off of it, and a bedroom. Even Busby admitted to NBC that Doe does not claim the assault occurred at Lotus nightclub. Second, Doe told NBC that she spent 20 minutes in the limo before arriving at the residence. However, when pressed about these details in a follow-up interview with NBC, Doe admitted she did not know where she was going or even how long the drive took. Worse, she conceded to NBC that she guessed about the length of time the trip had taken in the lawsuit. Third, as to her description of a supposed conversation with Benji during her interview with NBC News, a rep for Madden confirmed to NBC News that neither he or his brother Joel attended the 2000 VMAs and that they and their band Good Charlotte were on tour in the Midwest at that time. When confronted with this evidence, she conceded she made a mistake in identifying them and that not all the facts of the after party were clear. I can't. Andre said while stroking on that emotional support stuffed rabbits. She was just sitting there just, this feels like a level of exploitation or something. I don't know. I just, before I became a lawyer, I worked with people with mental health problems. So I have an affinity for it too. So I have like empathy where I do feel like, when you have issues, and some can be controlled with medications, and some it don't matter how much combinations, they just don't get it right, and they be believing some of these stories. You know what I'm saying? And it's a very dangerous thing that can happen. And typically, like I said, the courts, they kind of sift those out. But when you have an attorney, so if she would have filed this pro se, the judge probably would have threw it out. But the fact she filed it with an attorney, you just assume there was an investigation and all of that because you affix your name to it and say that that's what you did. That's what your signature means. Anyway. Fourth, regarding her long pre-dawn drive home with her daddy, Doe's father told NBC News that he does not recall picking her up, which unsurprisingly would have been something that would definitely stick in his mind. He said that he learned of the alleged assault when Doe was interviewed by NBC News in December, and that he did not remember once picking Doe up in the middle of the night, but it was a local drive. So how in the world did your dad find out that you were allegedly assaulted back then? You got a whole attorney. They done flew you from Alabama to Texas. Your daddy or your parents, apparently, I guess they take care of you. And they had no clue. You never in casual conversation just told them, hey, Dad, I just wanted to let you know that this happened to me at this time when I was 13. It just never came up. In Rochester, New York, Doe's father would have driven at least 5 hours and 47 minutes to pick her up. So, yeah, he would have remembered that because he would have been pissed and cussing her out the whole route like any other parent. You cussing and fussing in the middle of the night and it's 15 minutes away, let alone 5 hours when your kid's supposed to be at home. And there are countless other falsehoods in those allegations. For instance, despite alleging that it took 20 minutes to get from Radio City Music Hall to the after party in the amended complaint, there are no houses matching Doe's description within 20 minutes of Radio City Music Hall. And although she implies that Combs hosted the after party, none of Combs' properties match Doe's description of the location of the after party. I honestly believe, so this is the crazy part. This original complaint against Diddy was filed in October. The complaint was not filed against Jay-Z for a couple of months later. All of this stuff, Jay-Z's attorney was able to pull out. And a lot of this stuff is literally just the facts of what was going on at that time. But Diddy's attorney never even pulled any of this stuff out that we know of. But Jay-Z's attorney immediately questioned the location, the people that was there, questioned everything. We never heard. The only statements we get from Diddy's attorneys is every one of these allegations are false. Every lawsuit is false. Everyone is making this up. He's never trafficked anyone. He's never messed with anybody underage. We get the same Manila response to come out of the media. Jay-Z really helped him with this case because I don't think that if Diddy was on this by himself, I just don't believe that they would have pulled all this stuff out. I just don't believe that. Maybe eventually, but not as fast as what Sean Combs has done. I mean, not Sean Combs, what Jay-Z has done. Okay. Moreover, Doe alleges that after the VMAs began, much of the crowd moved inside, but Doe, without a ticket, remained outside with others and watched the VMAs on a jumbotron. But the broadcast of the VMAs conclusively shows that there was no jumbotron. Indeed, the producer of the 2000 VMAs and the NYPD confirmed that there was no jumbotron since their permit application was denied. Even if Doe was outside the VMAs, as she claims, she could not have approached celebrity limousines because they were only outside of Radio City Music Hall briefly for celebrity pickup and drop-off. In any event, the celebrity limousines were separated from fans by police barricades, as publicly available video of the event clearly shows. NBC confronted Doe regarding this substantial contradictory evidence, which it had uncovered in less than a week after conducting the initial interview. That's what I'm saying. How did NBC News fact check everything this lady said and was able to come back in a week like, nah, that ain't it. No, that's not it. That's not it. But then your lawyer did. In a follow-up phone interview, that's when, in response, Doe admitted she made some mistakes. She also disavowed the allegations in her complaint about the location of the alleged incident and admitted she was just guessing. But Doe did not drop her baseless complaint. She instead insisted on moving forward, including by offering to submit to a polygraph, which never occurred or in any event has never seen the light of day. Doe waited months before dismissing her false complaint and did so after being lied to by her attorney for their own benefit. Mr. Carter made several court filings repeatedly detailing the falsity of Doe's claims as revealed by her story's inconsistencies and the baseless of various allegations. At each of these junctures, Doe was confronted with the false nature of her claims as well as the harm it was causing Mr. Carter. At any of these points, Doe could have withdrawn her lawsuit. Nevertheless, Doe continued to pursue her claim without regard to the harm it was causing or could cause Mr. Carter. She has now admitted that Mr. Carter did not assault her. Indeed, Busby, aware that Mr. Carter did not assault her, pushed her to make the false claim for money. Having already sent the false and defamatory demand letters, having filed the false and defamatory complaint, and having already set Doe up to give the false and defamatory interview to NBC News, Busby, Fortney, and the Busby law firm were happy to perpetuate the lies and hold out hope for an unwarranted payment for them and Doe. Indeed, Busby went so far as to tell TMZ on December 10th, 2024, already fully aware of the falsity of the allegations, having met with Doe in Houston, that Doe was, quote, not ruling out filing great charges against Mr. Carter, and that, quote, what happened next is up to my client. It's her case, and what she decides to do, you will find out in due course. And that's in Exhibit 5, which is a TMZ article. However, the legal process got in the way of their scheme. Busby had signed the complaints in the action against Mr. Carter without being admitted to bar of the United States District Court of the Southern District of New York as required. When the judge presiding over the case was advised of the fact, she issued an order dated January 28, 2025, requiring Busby to file proof of admission on the docket by February 14th of 2025. The very next day, January 29th, Busby applied for such admission. On February 13, 2025, one day before his deadline to file proof of admission in the SDNY, Busby got the news that because he had already filed pleadings in the SDNY without being admitted to the bar of that court, in the case at issue here and in more than 20 others, his application for admission had been denied. Exhibit 7. He was also instructed to attach a copy of that denial order to any subsequent application for admission in a particular case in the SDNY. Faced with the inability to comply with the judge's order in the case against Mr. Carter and facing the threat of punishment by the court, Busby dispatched Fortney to Alabama to meet with Doe that same day, namely February 13, 2025. So on February 13, when he got his dismissal, he had Fortney go to Alabama and meet with Jane Doe. Let's see what happened. During that meeting, Fortney falsely, maliciously, and manipulatively told Doe that the case against Mr. Carter needed to be dismissed as Mr. Carter had made threats against Doe's life and it was too dangerous to continue with the case. Of course, no such threats had ever been made. What? So what they are alleging is that once Busby was told that he could not practice in the Southern District of New York for those cases because he had already previously filed cases without being admitted, that this attorney Fortney went to Alabama on February 13 and told her she needed to dismiss this case because Mr. Carter made threats against her life and it was dangerous to continue, instead of allegedly telling her what really happened, that the case got dismissed because your attorney filed and didn't get permission to practice there before he filed. It's a lot. Rather, Busby and Fortney were desperate to withdraw the false case or face punishment in court for their actions in filing a false pleading without Busby even admitted in the SDNY, jeopardizing their ability to continue with the more than 20 other cases they had pending in SDNY. Thus, on the evening of Friday, February 14th, 2025, Doe quietly filed her voluntary dismissal with prejudice and is attached as Exhibit A. But the threats and extortion did not end with the dismissal of Doe's fraudulent lawsuit. Rather, on Friday, February 28th of 2025, after Doe admitted all of the foregoing and after Busby became aware of those admissions, a prominent New York attorney serving as Busby and Fortney's co-counsel called an attorney for Mr. Carter. During that call, Busby and Fortney's New York co-counsel threatened that if Mr. Carter's attorney filed anything in Mr. Carter's pending extortion and defamation case in California against Busby related to the statements made by Doe, fully exculpating Mr. Carter and inculpating her and Busby for extortion and conspiracy, that Busby would issue a public statement by Doe that she, one, was being harassed by Mr. Carter's people since she dropped the lawsuit, and two, dropped the lawsuit only because she was afraid for her life, and that the allegations against Mr. Carter in the dropped lawsuit were all true. So what they are alleging is that last Friday, while many of you guys were kicking up your feet getting ready for the weekend, some prominent attorney told one of Jay-Z's lawyers that if they use Doe's admissions in the lawsuit in California, in the defamation lawsuit, saying she admitted that her attorney kind of pushed her to do it and that it was all a lie, then they were going to have her come and do a public statement and say that she only dropped the lawsuit because she was being harassed by Mr. Carter's people, and she dropped it because she was afraid for her life, and that the allegations were true. Of course, those allegations about being harassed by Mr. Carter's people since she dropped the lawsuit and about her reasons for dropping the lawsuit are and always were false. When Doe, Busby, and Fortney and their New York co-counsel said them, they knew or could readily have discovered through any reasonable inquiry that these statements were false. Thus, the threats of extortion and further defamation continue to this day, necessitating that Mr. Carter take action to prevent unscrupulous actors from further preying on him. So this is why the lawsuit was filed. Now we got to the nitty gritty. Just like, okay, so we know that at first in the initial lawsuit that was filed with Diddy, he was not named. Once they got these demand letters, Jay-Z filed a lawsuit in California court for defamation under Jane Doe before he was named in the lawsuit. After filing the lawsuit in California, we know that Busby added Jay-Z to the lawsuit. So this is a lawsuit that sounds like it's almost like a proactive movement, like what he did in California, because Doe may come out and still say, or it's been threatened that Doe may still come out and say, I dropped this lawsuit because Jay-Z and them was harassing me. Because you know the rumors about Roc Nation. You know the rumors that people say about the people that go against Roc Nation. And when you go against Jay-Z, it was all up in the Tory Lanez trial. I don't know how true any of this is, but this is like the rumors that's out there. So would people believe that she was harassed enough that she would drop the lawsuit with prejudice? Maybe. And then to say all of her allegations are still true would counter Jay-Z coming out. Because in theory, this was not a case that was tried on the merits. So what I told you guys is true. As far as one of the reasons why it's like Busby didn't have a choice. He was going to have to get rid of this case because you couldn't even practice in the Southern District of New York because they denied your request. And Jay-Z and them, they were with the stance of it was all bogus, even though we believe the facts been bogus from the beginning. We with you on that one, Jay-Z. But the reason why the dismissal really happened was because he really couldn't practice there. No way. He had until the 14th. So that's why he dropped the lawsuit, right? So when I told you guys, I was like, no, ain't no settlement or anything, because I think Busby would have came out and Busby would have said, we ain't gave him a dime. So what Busby sounds like he acted like he was prepared to do. This is all according to this. So this is all an allegation, okay? This is what Jay-Z is saying in this document. So it's all alleged. What they're saying is Busby was going to come out and have Jane Doe say, listen, I dropped it because I was scared and everything is true. So it'll still be out there as if he still ain't clear. You guys picking up what I'm putting down? Because when you look at it, Jay-Z was proactive when he filed that lawsuit in California. Everybody made it seem like it was like he just did it. He did it before the lawsuit he was even added to the Diddy lawsuit. So when he found out he might be in the lawsuit, he filed a defamation lawsuit in California. So this appears that when he thinks they might put out a statement saying that she dropped it with prejudice because she was scared for her life, and that is still true, they filed this lawsuit before that happened. That's what it looks like to me. What y'all think? Let me see what you're saying. Oh my goodness, y'all argue and I see find something safe to do. Okay. So Gotta Love Jones said, wow, that's exactly what Busby's statement said. What? Did he put out a statement? Hold on one second. Hold on. It's on the book. That's what he said? Gotta Love Jones? Girl, I was just making this up as I was going. I was speculating. Oh, let me see. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. The new case alleges the same claims as the other one. They pieced together and filed in Los Angeles. Like the one in LA, this new case in Alabama also has no legal merit. Sean Carter's investigators have repeatedly harassed, threatened, and the poor woman for weeks, trying to intimidate her and make her recant her story. She hasn't and won't. Instead, she has stated repeatedly she stands by her claims. These same groups of investigators have been caught on tape offering to pay people to sue me and my firm. After speaking with Jane Doe today, it's clear to me that the quotes attributed to her in the lawsuit are completely made up, or they spoke to someone who isn't Jane Doe. This is just another attempt to intimidate and bully this poor woman that we will deal with in due course. We won't be bullied or intimidated by frivolous cases. Oh, they going back and forth. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can pull up Instagram. You right. Oh my goodness. Just when I thought I broke the code, y'all like, nah, he already came out with a statement, sis. I don't have it. I don't have my Instagram on here. That is from Busby. So this was a proactive thing because they thought she was going, okay, I get it. I just have a hard time believing, and I get it. Some people, they have said things about Busby and all of that. I just have a hard time believing, and I guess maybe because how protective I am of my bar card, maybe I just have a hard time to believe that people would just be out here affixing their name to stuff and fighting cases that were just unwinnable the entire time and risk losing their license. I just don't think it's. So you said this is like an epic tennis but was quiet as a mouse went. Yeah, because I told you guys, I'm like, so of course, but see, it's no different than the Eric Adams situation. Eric Adams and his attorney went to Mar-a-Lago asking, I guess, to try to get a pardon or something. There was some conversation, and then it was a big meeting, I guess, with the acting attorney general. It was like, I guess, a big meeting on, and his attorney came with information like this is affecting him being a New York attorney and doing what he needs to do with immigration and all of that. The letter that was out that we read basically said that we're going to dismiss it without prejudice. However, that's because we think this is conflicting with his job and what we're trying to do with having illegal immigrants here. And so this is like this is like interfering. They bought the argument, right? But they said we're also going to have our own attorney look into whether he was prosecuted, like targeted prosecution, like what's being alleged. And so in the letter, the man said, I haven't looked at any of the allegations. I don't know what facts they have. I don't know what evidence they have. I don't know anything. Y'all just revisit this after his election. And I'm going to do it without, make sure it's without prejudice so you can bring it back if after your investigation it shows that perhaps he should be indicted. Now, he was indicted by a grand jury, so I'm not understanding this whole thing. which is a lot going on in that case because you got a whole lot of former federal judges that are doing amicus briefs, and they're saying why this should not happen. Like, this is a threat to democracy to not have a separation between the different branches as what our Constitution is premised on. But of course, Eric Adams and his attorney came out and they were like, we always said that he didn't do it. He didn't do anything they said that he did. He's maintained his innocence. Okay, but that is not why they're dismissing your case. They're dismissing your case without prejudice because you guys put on a good argument that somehow was affecting him as a New York, as being the mayor, and the immigration policies and all of the things that Trump is concerned about, and that he was selected prosecution and all of that. So y'all put up a good argument. However, it was without prejudice, meaning they can hold it over your head so it looks like a quid pro quo. But they still stood in front of a press conference and basically said, we always said he didn't do it. When you look at Jay-Z's case, it looks like it was dismissed because of, they didn't say they dismissed it because they didn't have any merit. They didn't say this. It looks like it was dismissed because he couldn't practice in the Southern District. So now, but Jay-Z and his attorney came on and said these bogus claims, blase, kind of similar as these bogus, but that's not why. And technically it was dismissed is what I'm saying. But do I believe the claims was bogus? I do. I didn't believe the lady at all. So I see why they would want to say that, but that's not why it was really dismissed when you look at it. Right? It's like he dismissed it. He was holding on to it. He couldn't practice in the Southern District. So that's what I came to. I was like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it feels like it was dismissed because he couldn't practice in the Southern District. So Jay-Z, of course, they come out, this 1-800 lawyer, and they was going off. That's why I told you guys, if it was a settlement, Busby would have been came out and said, no, I got money. That's how we knew it wasn't a settlement, even though y'all didn't believe me and y'all wanted to believe that it had to be a settlement. Now you got Busby basically coming out, and he said he did a statement, and he said that she was being harassed. So she has come. So that statement, they told them they was going to do it, I guess. And so they went on ahead and hurried up and filed the lawsuit to counter to say that, no, this is a part of their plot, plan, and scheme. So that's what's happening here. Eric Adams is full of it. He needs to go. That's it. We need Cuomo. You know what? I like Cuomo. I really did, but I'm not from New York, so everything I liked about Cuomo was from a distance. So I don't know how good he was, but he seemed like he was a decent mayor during the time of the pandemic and all of that. Now, I didn't like when he said something about he saved the people in New York, not God, or something. People saying he called it that. I didn't hear him, but if he said that, that's not cool. Okay, but for the grace of God, all right, regardless of whether he gave you the tools, whether he gave you the insight, whether he gave you revelation, whether he put the tools in your hand in order to know what to do, he gave you the wisdom. You ain't out here by yourself, all right? So if he said that, I would agree with that. But other than that, the way he was really up on it in New York, because New York was the hot spot at first, like most of the deaths and everything was happening in New York. So he did do very well when it came to that. Queen Brielle said Busby filed several of those cases that was in SDNY and state court on Friday. Okay. I seen a bunch of cases filed, but he had been filing cases in state court along with in federal court. Now, the problem with that, let me tell you the issue he's going to have. Is that a state statute? I'm wondering if he's going to end up having some issues with jurisdiction, like some type of jurisdictional issues. I wonder his reasoning for filing it in federal court in the first place, but I guess we'll see on how they respond to it. But yeah. You said Cuomo and his father. Yeah, that's right. He was a good. Yeah, my bad. Sorry. Ty said we believed you, Pammy. Pammy was the conspiracy theorist that came out the weeds when we talking Jay-Z that ain't believe fat meat was greasy. Yeah, I didn't believe her. I didn't believe her in the beginning. I'm gonna be honest. That was my opinion. However, I didn't believe that it was dismissed because Busby woke up one. I think they're so thick in a fight now that Busby would take this to the end. He believed his client. He said that before, even with the inconsistencies. He said he believed his client, and I think because of how he was dragged in the media, and how this has been dragged along the street, I think that he would fight to the end if he could. So that's why I was like, no, I don't think he dismissed it for that. I think he just didn't have a choice. And then to say, oh, I only dismissed it with prejudice, because he could have did it without prejudice, right? And she could have brought it back. And he could have filed it in state court, and he didn't do that. Now that is interesting because he did do it with prejudice. He could have did it without prejudice, and he could have tried to file it in state court. But the issue with that is now he has to come up with a reason why he didn't file it in state court. And I think that reasoning is about the whole I was scared for my life and all of that stuff. So I think that would be his reasoning. Because yes, he would have had to dismiss it in federal in the Southern District, but that wouldn't necessarily preclude him to refile it someplace else, as he's done, I guess, apparently with other cases. He could have did that, but he didn't. He dismissed it with prejudice. And that's what I would have focused on. Like, the with prejudice means he can't bring it back. He would have had every opportunity to refile it someplace else, and he chose not to do that, which to me is indicative of showing that he knew them claims were frivolous. And that's kind of like how I would have, worded it. But all right, let's get in with this. First cause of action is malicious prosecution. On October 20th, 2024, Doe, through Busby and Fortney, sued Combs and his business entities as well, alleging that they committed heinous crimes. Defendant did not initiate that lawsuit with a legitimate purpose. Instead, the lawsuit was filed with the intent to extort Mr. Carter. On November 5th, Doe, through her attorney, Busby, sent Mr. Carter an extortionate letter threatening to publicly assert wild, horrific, but utterly false allegations that Mr. Carter actually assaulted a minor after the Video Music Awards in 2000. According to Doe, if Mr. Carter wished to avoid the financial and personal devastation that such public allegations would inflict, he would need to work out a deal to silence her. But Doe had already sued Mr. Carter, albeit as one of the Does 1 through 10. Defendants thus filed the lawsuit to force Mr. Carter into either A, paying something of substance to stop her from making public the wildly false allegations of actual assault that would subject Mr. Carter to reputation. I'm sitting up here reading this. It would affect his reputation. I'm looking at the footnote. Mr. Carter first became aware of Doe's identity on or around February 21st, 2025, and has never met or interacted in any way with Doe. So he didn't even know who she was till like a week ago. Wow. After Mr. Carter refused to capitulate to Doe's extortionate demands, Doe, through Busby and Fortney, made good on her threat and formally named Mr. Carter a defendant in the lawsuit she filed weeks earlier. Defendant knew that the statements against Mr. Carter were false and or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. When initiating the proceedings against Mr. Carter, Doe used NBC News and other media platforms to publish and further disseminate her false statements to millions of readers and viewers to falsely accuse Mr. Carter of actual assault and inflict maximum reputational harm on him to induce Mr. Carter to give her money to which she was not entitled. Doe's lawsuit lacked any probable cause to believe her lawsuit had legal merit, as demonstrated by how easy it was for NBC to disprove Doe's allegations after a few days of investigation that revealed evidence that directly contradicted her version of events. No person of ordinary care and prudence would believe that Mr. Carter actually assaulted Doe at any after party for the 2000 VMAs. So then, of course, they go over the examples, the inconsistencies of the house, the 10-hour round trip to retrieve the 13-year-old daughter by the dad, the alleged speaking to the celebrities, the allegations of the Jumbotron, the approaching of the limousine drivers, and then they have an So those were what they're talking about. Doe also admitted to NBC News that her statements contained mistakes and admitted that key details in her allegation were inaccurate and were based on her guesses. Doe thus knowingly and intentionally filed a complaint that contained false allegations. Yet, even after NBC News exposed the falsity and inconsistency of her statements, defendant nevertheless continued to pursue Doe's frivolous and meritless lawsuit for the improper purpose of attempting to extort a settlement from Mr. Carter based on her fabricated sexual assault allegations. Defendant acted with malice, all of that. After Doe's frivolous lawsuit filed by Busby, Fortney, and the Busby law firm, and its demonstrably false allegation that Mr. Carter actually assaulted her when she was a minor caused Mr. Carter to suffer actual and special damages, including but not limited to harm to his personal and professional reputation, harm to his business entity, Rock Nation, which resulted in his business suffering substantial losses in excess of $20 million out-of-pocket loss, and emotional harm, humiliation, and harassment. After finally realizing that their plan would not succeed, defendants quietly moved to voluntarily dismiss the lawsuit with prejudice. Accordingly, the lawsuit was resolved in Mr. Carter's favor without settlement or compromise. Defendants' initiation and continued prosecution of the frivolous lawsuit was willful and malicious and was intended to oppress and cause injury to Mr. Carter. Accordingly, Mr. Carter is entitled to an award of punitive damages. So the second cause of action is abuse of process, and it's against all of the defendants. Pretty much the same thing. I'm scanning over the facts to see if it's anything we haven't heard already. The next one is a civil conspiracy. All defendants agreed and worked together and knowingly and willfully conspire, and that's against all defendants, to maliciously prosecute and abuse the legal process against Mr. Carter. The defendants agreed to initiate and continue the false and malicious lawsuit in the shared objective of extorting Mr. Carter through false and damaging accusations, thereby causing harm to his reputation and financial well-being. In doing so, all defendants intended to harm Mr. Carter. One or more of the defendants took an overt act or acts to achieve malicious prosecution of Mr. Carter and to abuse the process of the courts against Mr. Carter. A, defendant Busby, as Doe's attorney, filed the initial lawsuit against Mr. Carter and other entities, knowing the claims were fabricated or recklessly disregarding the truth that the claims were fabricated. Defendant Fortney, as an attorney representing Doe, assisted in pursuing the lawsuit and was complicit in the unlawful purpose of extorting Mr. Carter. Defendant Busby and Fortney continued to prosecute the meritless lawsuit even after each were confronted with further evidence its falsity, demonstrating their collective intent to harm Mr. Carter. Defendant Doe actively participated in formulation of and prosecution of false claims against Mr. Carter. The fourth cause of action is defamation, and this is just against Doe. She done caught a stray. You trying to get a couple dollars and you got a defamation lawsuit. Doe has made false and defamatory statements to and through third parties, including but not limited to major media outlets and through her attorney, Busby, on social media platforms and during public interviews, accusing Mr. Carter of raping her. These statements were widely disseminated to the general public through media outlets, social media platforms, and during public interviews. Notwithstanding the falsity of her allegations, Doe relied on NBC and other sources to republish and further disseminate her defamatory statements about Mr. Carter to the public, despite knowing that proving such statements to media outlets would disseminate her false statements about Mr. Carter throughout the country and world to millions of viewers and readers, which is what they did on December 13th, 2024. Doe's accusations were neither speculative nor innocuous, but asserted by Doe as matters of fact to lead a reader or viewer to conclude that Mr. Carter committed the criminal acts she alleged. So they said it as a matter of fact. Doe knowingly made her false statements and at a minimum made them with a reckless disregard as to their falsity, as demonstrated by NBC's ability to quickly uncover inconsistency in her allegations and contradictory evidence. Worse, when pressed about the inconsistencies, she admitted her statement contained mistakes and random guesses as to the key details. That is wild. Oh, I just randomly guessed that it was a house. I randomly guessed how long it took. I randomly guessed the celebrities that was there. Like, that means you made it up, man. It means you made up the story. Randomly, just, this sounds good. Let me add this character. Like, what is that? Doe's false statements and her devised plan to use media networks such as NBC News to disseminate the statements to millions were a part of Doe's calculated plan to falsely accuse. I just don't look at this lady as calculated. That is really like a little delusional, maybe, or a lot delusional, but calculated plan. She sat back and said, I'm going to get into a big spat with Jay-Z and one of the best law firms in the country so I could try to get millions. Yeah, that's my plan. So she was just sitting holding her support rabbit, stuffed animal, and she was like, we need money. We need money so bad. Let me accuse Jay-Z out of all the people in the world and Diddy and some woman who they name, who thank God they didn't put her name out. And I'm just going to say, and that's going to give my whole family millions. I just don't see that for this young lady. The mental health issues they talked in the beginning, the alleged assault, the dropping for drugs, the multiple medications, the different diagnoses. I see all of that because I've seen all of that in the facts. But that she sat down with this calculated plan, I just can't see that. I don't know. You said calculated with delusion. I don't know. Ty said, I really appreciate how all of Jay-Z's legal documents basically say, stop playing with me and or you gonna learn about playing with me. Pretty much. They said they ain't letting this go. She was sitting there and she was rubbing her stuffed animal, or she had a little blankie or something in the ears or something she was playing with. That should have been the first clue that Busby was like, what have I got myself into? That would have been my first clue. Busby has put out a declaration from Jane Doe. Okay, where is it at? Is that the one? Okay, let's see. I can't keep up. Busby declaration. Where did he put it at, though? On his page? Declaration. Okay, so this is all on NBC, and I seen it all on her Twitter. Jay-Z's lawsuit. I'm trying to see if they put it in this article. Let me go on Twitter then. Let's go see what this lady's talking about. That might have been what I read. I read something from, I just read it earlier, but I'll read it again. Oh, that's Threads. I'm on the wrong thing. You said X. Megan Cunif. I saw this already. This was on something. Okay, yeah, this was somebody else reposted this because I already read. So the statement that she got was, this new case alleges the same claims as the other one they pieced together and filed in LA. Like the one in LA, this new case in Alabama also has no legal merit. Sean Carter's investigators have repeatedly harassed, threatened. Just the exact same thing. She hasn't and won't. Instead, she has stated repeatedly she stands by her claims. These same group of investigators have been caught on tape offering to pay people to sue me and my firm. After speaking with Jane Doe today, it's clear to me that the quotes attributed to her in the lawsuit are completely made up, or they spoke to someone who isn't Jane Doe. This is just another attempt to intimidate and bully this poor woman that we will deal with in due course. So hopefully they'll represent her, right? Because she's going to need a lawyer at this point. So hopefully they represent her. But this is my problem. So Busby, I get it. They look aggressive over there. Jay-Z and them, they go a little hard in the paint when it comes to their client or whatever. So I get it, and he's saying he not gonna be bullied by how they, be pushing and filing these lawsuits here, there, and everywhere. So I understand that perspective. But you still believe everything that this lady is telling you? She says she never talked to anyone. They're coming with quotes. I would surmise that if anybody really talked to this lady, it was recorded. Y'all recording everything else. Why wouldn't you record a conversation with her? So they're alleging that this lady confirmed with someone else in the law firm or somebody that works with the law firm that it was fabricated and she was pushed by Busby. Busby is saying she talked to the lady. She stands by her facts and she says she ain't talked to nobody from over there. But do we really believe everything the lady say? This is a conundrum. Do we really believe everything she puts out here at this point? And Busby did have recordings of people that was allegedly working for somehow far removed, some attorneys trying to find some of this man's old clients, Busby's old clients, and one of them actually recorded and sent it to Busby that they have been coming trying to find, hey, he may object your case us up and all of that. So, it sounds like if what Busby's saying is accurate, there are investigators who go hard in the paint, who they fly all over this country to get the information that they try to get, according to Busby. And they're saying they didn't find out who Jane Doe even was till February 21st. So I wonder how they found that out. Would that have been maybe because of the lawsuit in California? I don't know. It's too much. It's a lot. I don't believe either one of them now. That's what Tabitha. Can we believe anyone at this point? This is a mess. That's what I'm saying. Now we do know they go hard in the paint with investigators. So do we believe that it could have been some harassment or intimidation? She could have got intimidated by all these filings, by all of these press conferences, by all that. She could have felt intimidated. It didn't even have to be that they came to her house and said, we're going to blow it up or something. It don't have to be anything like that. It could be that she felt intimidated by all the stuff going on between Busby and them, Busby and him. It could have been all the lawsuits. She probably was like, I'm going to get sued next, which is exactly what happened. It could have been that, does that necessarily mean that? But I don't know. He did say they was threatening her life and all of that. So I guess that would have been a direct threat. That's alleged. But I don't know. The way Jay-Z just be, a lot of them, they coming in trying to be proactive with everything to get ahead of whatever may come. Listen, I don't know. I'm just reporting what's out here at this point. So I guess we see. Tabitha said you can't intimidate delusion. Whew. Y'all said y'all need to stop. Jay-Z is not lying. Ain't nobody say he was lying. I didn't believe the facts, y'all. What I'm saying, I never believe the facts. What I'm saying is the way this has been going, the aggressiveness of it all, the aggressiveness of this litigation, could she have been intimidated? Why couldn't she have been intimidated? Could she really believe in her mind that this happened? She could believe what she want to believe. Does that necessarily mean it's true? No. That may be what she really believes. She may have created a whole story in her head. We don't know. That's why it's tripping me out that Busby, like, he's like, I just talked to her and she said she ain't say nothing. Are we just going to believe what she says at this point? Or are we going to make sure that we got something corroborating what this lady says? Now that we know she may have some mental health issues, now that we know she's allegedly accused other people of the same thing in the past, now that we know she was just in court for some assault or something before the man letter, now that we know some of these things that's supposed to be public record, I haven't verified. It may be attached, but I didn't download any of the exhibits because I just don't care that much. But now that we know that, do we not now look at what she says skeptical? At least put some form of skepticism on it. I just wouldn't take her word for face value at this point. Elite Leo says she should be scared because she was lying. Nothing she said added up. It didn't add up. It didn't add up before they did all the research to find out it was no jumbotrons. None of it made sense. You living in Rochester, climbing out windows, then the only woman that allegedly took you there, she just so happened to be dead. You know what I'm saying? Those parts was like, It all sounds sketchy, right, Denise? It does. But I think, again, this also puts out a message that if you're going to tell stories on Jay-Z, if you're going to lie on Jay-Z, if you're going to try to come after Jay-Z and come after his reputation, if you're going to come after that affects his family and his kids, just know Jay-Z is going to 1-2 you in your eye, knock you out. Then once you wake up, he gonna knock you out again. Then he gonna wake you up again. Then he gonna toss you, cuss you out on the internet. Then he gonna knock you out again. Okay? I think that's what he's kind of like. He's letting the whole world know like how it's gonna go. So if there's anybody else that's out here that feel like Jay-Z was there and you know that Jay-Z wasn't there, he's not the one or the two. If nothing else, I think that is definitely a message that has been duly noted and received. I didn't believe her once she told her story on the interview. I didn't believe the facts when I read. I mean, I stopped even bringing up Busby's lawsuits. I mean, they all pretty much were read the same and they were very, very brief. And then they just was like, how do you got time to vet these people? Like before, typically when someone comes, like they'll come to me, it's like, okay, depending on what it is, I'm not entering appearance right now. I'm investigating your case. Like most of the time, we really put in time to investigate because once you're in a case, especially in federal court, sometimes it's hard to get out of a case. Plus, whenever you do put your name on there, you're saying, I have investigated and I believe that they have valid claims. So I never understood how he was able to just, bam, let me file. You do the press conference, you create a 1-800 number, you got a whole system for intake and all of that. And then you're like filing lawsuits like back to back in state and federal court. I just never knew how you were able to vet these people. Now he made it seem like at that time they had thousands of people that called the 1-800 number. And he had about 100 that he said he's been able to verify. So when I seen the ones that he's saying were verified, they just didn't seem that, a lot of them didn't seem believable to me. The ones that I saw. So I just stopped really like reading and paying for those documents because they pretty much all say the same thing, except the facts, the facts are different. They talk about him being indicted, Diddy being indicted. They talk about Cassie. They talk about the other lawsuits. They talk about, basically a whole 7 pages of Sean Combs. And then they get to their little brief allegations on whether they're saying whatever age it was a video set in a hotel room, wherever it was. And then they do it under that statute, the gender motivated violence statute. So I stopped downloading them because they all kind of started sounding redundant. And I just didn't know how accurate and true any of it was. Again, Busby and his team went to the yellow bus school and found this unstable young lady and gave her a script. I wonder where they found it. Did she call the 1-800 number? Well, Busby said another firm vetted her. So did she go to that other firm first And if the firm thought it was so good, unless they didn't have the manpower, like they were a solo practitioner or something, so they felt like they didn't have the manpower, maybe that's why they wouldn't take it. But why would you just take a case from somebody and not vet it yourself? I don't care. I've had a lot of people try to refer cases, and I still look at, you can tell me, oh, it's great. No, because most great cases people keep to themselves. Let's be honest. And the only way they don't keep it to themselves is when they can't afford to run the case. So it's like a medical malpractice or something that you got to spend thousands of dollars before you may see recovery. Then that's something, or it's something too big and you don't do the case, like it's an area you don't do. But if it's something that we both do, and I know you're referring me to case, it's either one of your family members or friends, because we all get user people we know that know you're a lawyer, and they want to file for everything. They got a splinter in their hand, they want to sue. Somebody stepped on their toe at the bus stop, they calling me because they want to sue. I got my own people that know me, that I ain't got to take your trash cases. But we all get trash cases of people that feel like they want to sue for everything. So if a person sends you that case and they vetted it to the point where you believe in their vetting, and you don't look at it yourself, it's crazy to me too. Because even if somebody refers you a case, you should vet it. Because you could be, this could, like, what a trap. Like, now every attorney attached to this case, Jay-Z, is trying to sue. So it's like, you could have just came in and just caught a stray. RGAKM said, I wonder if her mental health has something to do with it. I think of people with dementia, they imagine all sorts of things and believe it. Yeah, I'm not saying she doesn't believe what she said. She may believe it to the point of passing a polygraph test. I'm just saying it's probably not probable, especially looking at all the contradictions and all of the evidence they have that contradict it. So, yeah. You can find the descriptions of places, people, and things about Diddy all over the internet and claim it happened to you too. That is true. That is a good point. Because people live on the internet, or they're in magazines. Back then they had Buy Magazine. You can literally say, shoot, I want to go Diddy party, look fun. I want to go to a white party. You was like the who's who back then if you went to a white party. So it could have been you really imagine yourself and you know the details. You know, when it's a lot of the details will be in the magazines, they'll be on Entertainment Tonight, they'll be in the blogs, whatever. So that is true. You can get certain details and stuff. And that's why I'm saying she did this part. They didn't even bother to even make sure the details corroborated before you filed it. At minimum, if you say it was at the VMAs, I'd have made sure the VMAs happened the day that you said it was. I would have tried to see where the after party was. Like, those were things you could have Googled. There were pictures on there that showed where Jay-Z was on that day. So, yeah. He should vet it because he has to argue. Absolutely. And everything that you might think is good is not what just like I'll say, you know, if I choose not to take a case, I'll say, hey, this is a case that I'm not going to take at this time. However, please don't be discouraged. Go to somebody else. They may look at your case differently. In fact, I encourage it. And I give you the number to the state bar so you can find specifically under whatever area of law it is, so that you can go ahead and you can look at and see if you can find a case yourself. Like, you know, find an attorney that's willing to take it. It may be one out there. I'm not saying that everyone does look at cases differently. But so I think you should always look at a case, even if it's referred to you. But anyway, what happened to Jag? She went quiet. I don't know. The IE network said Busby practically told TMZ that is how the game works. Yeah, I mean, and in theory, so my issue with, and I said this in the TD Jakes saga as well, my issue, honestly, is we do demand letters. And it's not because they're celebrities. It's not because you do it with somebody nobody has ever heard of. It's the point of avoiding litigation and the money attached to it. If you know you hit my client with your car, let's not even go through all of this. These are her injuries. This is the bill. I shouldn't have to sue you. Get it to your insurance company and let them pay. You try to resolve things. But I also see it from the flip side when it comes to celebrities. They have more to protect than just money. They have their reputation, they have their brand. So it would, and my regular John Smith is not anybody that TMZ or a Pam Esquire is going to go try to just randomly look at to go do commentary on it. It's going to be celebrities that you do commentary on it. So even though I agree it is something that's kind of par for the course that we all do, I think celebrities have more incentives to settle, and to settle before a lawsuit is filed and made public and given to all of the blogs to be a big spectacle out of it, like what, a big deal that happened, like what happened with Cassie, how we all found out about it. So it does behoove them to go ahead and settle. So I can see him telling him, this is better for you, like I'm looking out for you. And I guess it comes across like you're trying to make me do it, take the money, or risk my name being dragged along the internet and affecting my business and my family. So yeah, I can totally see that aspect of it as well from the celebrity standpoint. While some people think it is, quote, extortion, when it really is something that we all do as par for the course in civil litigation. But it's just celebrities have more to lose. So for them, they feel like they don't have a choice but to give the money, or they're going to have to risk their name being out here and them having to defend their name. But I don't think like celebrities should be treated more special just because they're not. We all do these demand letters. The thing is, I guess they'll look into whether Busby does this all the time. Does he do this all the time? I don't know. Does he do this in order to get celebrities to pay out? Are there celebrities out here that's sitting up there kicking themselves because they like, I paid this fool $100,000 and it probably ain't even happened. I was just trying to avoid all of the drama and the headache. Are there celebrities that's going to come out and say that? I guess we'll see. If there are celebrities that paid out, Jay-Z's lawyer is probably going to find them. If there are anybody that paid out, they're going to find it. It just seems like anyone can make a claim on you and you have to prove your innocence. Unfortunately, it doesn't take much for somebody to file a lawsuit. Like, yes, it happens on YouTube. It's been a lot of people that have been accused of things that we don't know if it's true or not. And all they can say is it ain't true. That's the same thing that happens in the court of law. You can file a lawsuit and then you got to go through the whole process. There are plenty of people, like I said, that have been falsely accused. So it does happen. So anyway, we at the end of this lawsuit. Doe's false statements and her devised plan to use media networks such as NBC News to disseminate the statements to millions were part of Doe's calculated plan to falsely accuse Mr. Carter of sexual assault and inflict maximum reputational harm on him to induce payment. Doe's false statements are defamatory per se, as inflammatory statements falsely accusing Mr. Carter of crimes of moral turpitude that subjected Mr. Carter to disgrace, ridicule, public hatred, and contempt. Mr. Carter was directly injured by Doe's false statements and faced the deterioration of his public image, reputation, and professional relationships and business opportunities due to the public contempt and hatred caused by Doe's false statement. Defendant false statements also constitute defamation per quad. Doe's false statements were made as a matter of fact statements that were reasonably understood to have been made about Mr. Carter. Doe's false statements to social media networks, including NBC News interview, implicated Mr. Carter in allegations of criminal and actual misconduct. The statements made by Doe were known to millions of readers and viewers of Doe's statements, which injured Mr. Carter in his occupation as a performer and business person. For example, Doe's false statements and actions undermine Mr. Carter's ability to maintain professional relationships, secure business opportunities, and preserve his reputation by exposing Mr. Carter to disgrace, ridicule, public hatred, and contempt. Mr. Carter had suffered assumed and actual damages, including but not limited to loss and injury to his business, harming his name and reputation, out-of-pocket loss, emotional harm, humiliation, and embarrassment. Doe's false statements were a substantial factor in causing Mr. Carter's harm. Doe acted with constitutional malice. Doe either knew that her statements against Mr. Carter were false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth, even upon having sufficient grounds to withdraw her false statements against Mr. Carter with the release of the NBC News article. Doe continued to threaten through her attorney, Anthony Busby, criminal prosecution against Mr. Carter and maintain the lawsuit against Mr. Carter. Doe did not have any reasonable grounds to support any truth to her statement and acted with reckless disregard for the truth. In fact, she recanted portions of her complaint when interviewed by NBC News, and when asked by Representative Mr. Carter to come forward with the truth, she responded, "What's in it for me?" What? So now they saying, what a way to end it, that the representative for Mr. Carter, they told her to come forward and tell the truth. And she said, what I get out of it? What you gonna do for me? You want me to do something for you? I'm gonna do something for you. You gotta do something for me if you want me to do something for you. So what do I get out of this? That's what they're alleging. So the prayer for relief, wherefore Sean Corey Carter respectfully prays for judgment and relief against Jane Doe, to all the causes of action, and Anthony Busby, David Forney, and Anthony G. Busby, as to the first, second, and third causes of action as follows: an award of assumed and actual damages, an amount to be determined by the finder of fact, an award of punitive damages. They feel like he should be punished. All the people should be punished named in this complaint. Reasonable costs and legal fees pursuant to applicable law, pre and post judgment interest as applicable, and any other relief this court deems just and appropriate. Then there's a demand for jury trial, and that is that. And he got a whole different attorney. He got him attorney over there in Alabama. Okay, this ain't even this isn't even Spiro and them. This is another firm over there in Alabama that is representing him. So there's that. What will happen to his other cases? What do you mean, Tracy? I don't know, Tracy. Let me know what you're talking about. It's so sad what happened with Angie Stone. It's still crazy. Crazy. Pam, do you think if Diddy had settled with Cassie before she filed that the feds would have worked harder to get him? His arrogance to bully was his ultimate downfall. Yeah, I believe that if that case wasn't filed, Diddy would be out here doing the Harlem Shake. He'd be out here right now, and it's all about love. Love. That's all we care about is love. Love. That's it. That's how he would have been out here. But I do think because of the Cassie, and again, she asked for this. What she did was she was writing a book, and her attorney contacted his attorney and said, hey, Cassie is going to write this. She's wrote this book and she's going to sell it. But however, we're going to give you first rights to basically have the exclusive rights to it. So that means if I give it to you, I ain't gonna talk about it. You got the exclusive rights, you own it, and that's it. So he could have buried it, did whatever he wanted to do. Allegedly, that amount was $30 million. Basically, Diddy told her, you can go to hell. And so Cassie said, got you, bro. I gave you a chance. And so right before the statute was gonna expire that allowed you to have that look back, not the gender motivated, but the other one that they enacted for about a year and a half or 2 years or something, right before it expired, like a couple of days before it expired, Cassie was like, all right, got you, and filed it. So that's and then after that, that's when everybody started coming out saying Cassie's bravery is the reason why I came out. But I don't even think the civil lawsuits would have been out if Cassie hadn't filed. So Cassie, the way that lawsuit was so detailed, I don't think the feds had a choice but to at least investigate at minimum. You talking about blowing up cars, beating people on video, threatening people, put them over the railings, drugs, having freak up. Like, it was so much going on in that lawsuit. It was so detailed. It had a trigger warning on the top. So yes, that's what started everything. If he would have said, you know what, you good, because from my understanding, when Cassie was with him, she had an allowance that was ridiculous every year. So I'm sure that her lifestyle and everything did change once her and Diddy broke up. I'm sure it did change. So yeah. Notice how the declaration was signed on the 27th of February. This script was using it to threaten Jay-Z. What declaration are you talking about? Was that attached as an exhibit? Because I ain't even look at the exhibits on here. Let me see what you're talking about. Let me see. Let me look this little case up right quick. Let me go to the Southern District of Alabama. Who'd have thought Alabama got more than one district? Okay, Alabama. Let's see what we got going on here. Motion for leave to file what? Motion for leave to file by Sean Court. They must be trying to file a motion to keep her as Jane Doe, maybe. Also, the insurance settling in less than 24 hours made the entire thing more credible. Yeah, I don't know who paid. I just know somebody came out of that money. He should have had the same energy to resolve the paternity lawsuits ongoing for 10 years by taking the test. Why y'all so worried about this paternity? Huh? Y'all explain to me this fascination with a paternity lawsuit. Like, because to be perfectly honest, the guy who was saying that he is the father, where it would have been, I'm not saying it's not important to know who your lineage is and all of that as an adult, but as a kid, I'm gonna need some of that child support. So he would have been swabbing that mouth when he was young, like when it first happened. So I'm trying to understand, because he's an older guy now. Jay-Z clearly don't want to be bothered. He's saying he don't want money. So what do you want? If he know you don't want money, but he still doesn't want anything for real to do with you, you're not gonna have a relationship. You just want him to like claim you. Is that what it is? Like, I guess everyone wants to know that they be able to point to somebody being their dad in their mind. And I guess apparently who he thought was his dad ended up not being his dad, and found out when he was 15 or 16 or something. But I'm saying, like, what's the big deal? I just want to know why you guys are intrigued with this. The mother of his alleged children were minors at the time of conception. So how would that affect him now, though? Serious question. And why should we automatically take this man's word? I've literally had no interest in the paternity situation with Jay-Z. We've seen pictures since I was young on the Enquirer. They show anybody with big lips, they'll say it's his son, or somehow, and would it have been unheard of if he actually had maybe some kids before he got, it's almost crazy that before he married Beyonce, we know Beyonce wasn't no old chick when he married her. Like, she was young when they started dating. I mean, I think she was an adult, but she was still young, like a young adult when they started dating. I don't know. I guess I just never cared. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what the fascination. He's not that man daddy. Do you know, Jay-Z, y'all? Tell me your relationship, because you've been out here windmilling for him all day. Tell me your relationship to Jay-Z. Is that your cousin? Is that your god brother or something? Did you grow up together? Did you guys live on the same block, go to elementary school? Did you share pizza on Friday? Tell me what your relationship is. His real daddy came out and said he lying. Who is his real daddy? Tell me his name, y'all, peace. Because you have not been peaceful since you've been in here. You ready to fight for Jay-Z. I ain't mad at you. Everybody need a y'all piece in their life that's willing to go windmill for him. Unfortunately, lots of the Diddy cases are frivolous as well. Us people are going to learn a lot more about Cassie's so-called beating. We didn't see the whole tape. That's from Lindell Williams. So what I'm going to say about this, I'm not going to say that Cassie was not in an abusive relationship with Diddy, because Diddy Diddy didn't hide his temper. In my opinion, Diddy never hid his temper. I think his temper was displayed on TV. When he got into it with, Lorianne Gibson, the dance instructor, he's had some blow-ups with people that was like, okay, he beat up one of the execs and caught a charge. He does have a charge of when he beat. So his temper is not shocking to me. His wantingness to control is not shocking to me. And seeing one of the documentary, one of his childhood friends that he got bullied, it really explained to me and added more clarity. But there are also people that are saying that Cassie was a part of the ish, saying, with what you're saying, that she initiated some of those fights. Like, they just had a toxic relationship and they were on drugs. And that's pretty much what his attorney is arguing. The problem with that is, now with the Me Too movement, they're not treated equally when it comes to that. It's you're the man. No man should put their hand on a woman, no matter what the circumstances. I don't care if they beat you with a frying pan. You're not supposed to do anything to, back to the woman. That's why with my daughters, I said, don't hit nobody unless you want to get hit back. I don't care if they're a man. I don't care if they're a woman. This is not whatever they taught you in the 1920s. People, these guys now, they knock you upside your head too. So before you decide you want to get mad and you want to put your hands on somebody, no, there is a possibility that they're not just going to take that licking and keep on ticking. They might hit you back. So don't put your hands on nobody, male, female, whatever, unless you ready to get socked back. So I don't know. They say they had a volatile relationship and they both, I don't know. I guess we'll see at the trial. But some people feel like there's no excuse for any man to ever put their hands on a woman. So they don't care what she did. And that's the type of jurors that the prosecution is going to look for. Because there are people that feel that way. Like, it don't matter. It don't matter what they do. They don't believe that there are men that are beat, men that are battered. They don't believe that. Do I necessarily believe that's Cassie's situation? No. Am I more prone to believe that they both was like in some shenanigans and they both did, Because it seems like when she was ready to leave, she was able to leave. She left. She started a family. And she got married, she started a family, she did all of that. I've never heard, honestly, of anything that said like, and maybe it'll come out that he was trying to stop her relationship or something. I don't know. So that's why I said some of this stuff we're not going to know until the trial happens. Lindell said what you're going to find out later is that they were in an argument and she was trying to leave with his clothes. That's why he was in the towel. No, I already heard that. I already heard that. And I think I told them over here that that's supposed to be what was going on in the entire video. This is what they were arguing, that the public only saw a cut up video. And that's the same video, I guess, that the prosecution used in the case. And so when they were able to get the entire video, That's why they were arguing, trying to do emergency bail hearings, because they thought it would sway the judge. The judge was like, nope, this didn't really sway me at all. I don't see anything in it that makes my decision any less than what it is. We feel like you're a threat to society. You may intimidate witnesses and all of that. So it's a no for me. So it didn't help him at all. But yes, that entire video was shown to the judge, and his team was trying to use that entire video to show just what you're saying, that it was a mutual situation. She actually had started it and whatnot. So when he had sex with the girl and she became pregnant, most likely you could be the father. Take the test to find the truth. That's what Cutie Pie said. Okay. Well, I'm just not that invested, I guess. And if you don't want to be my daddy, screw you. That's how I feel. You're lost, because I think I'm pretty dope. But I think this guy, he gets a lot of attention by saying Jay-Z's my daddy. And they do have lawsuits that have been filed that I found. A lot of it is under seal. So I'm not saying that he's not being honest about that, because they are, where you can't pull them. And I did see one, I think, it was in federal court, maybe in New York or New Jersey, might have been New Jersey. And I think state court in New Jersey. So have they filed things? And one of them was filed, I think, when his mom was still alive, because she was trying to do it pro se, and she was trying to get her fees paid. So his mom has been consistent with saying, once I guess they found out that the one that was saying that he thought was his dad before was not his dad, that Jay-Z was his dad. So it does show a pattern of consistency with his mom, who has since passed. So-called beating is wild. Diddy apologized. Are you serious? I don't know what that means. I feel that way, with the exception of children being hurt or old people. Old money can get you stumped out. That's from Sea Breeze. It also wasn't her hair he was pulling, it was her jacket. Okay, Liddell, are you Diddy's cousin? Are you one of the kids? What's your relationship to Diddy? We just talk about everything over here. We not, we try to be unbiased. Again, my issue, honestly, with Diddy was long before all of this. Do I think that he's a great producer? I think that he's given us great talent and great music in my ear. But he just has a personality I could live without. It was just a personal preference. I didn't like the way he spoke with people. I didn't like the way he talked to women. I didn't like that whole, just like when he was on one of those shows and he was staring down Elijah, who was from Detroit, and became a meme because Elijah stared him back down. Like, I just feel like a lot of intimidation. So my issue with a lot of these people, and that's not just Diddy too, that's with Russell Simmons, that's with whoever that are Black who were able to break the ceiling and get into the music industry. I think a lot of people, because it was so hard for them, they felt like they had to make it so hard for everyone else because it happened to them, when they could have used this gift that they got and this opportunity to uplift Black people more. And perhaps Diddy was getting into that era with the whole love thing. Maybe that was the era he was getting into. But I firmly believe that he had to do certain things to get in the industry. He had to compromise probably things that he never said he would do. He's probably done whatever just to be where he is, and he wasn't going to let it be easy for other people. And so I think it's not just him. I think a lot of people do that. Instead of breaking that pattern, you kind of perpetuate what the slave master does. And that's what my problem is. I felt like him talking to people like trash. I felt like, the way he berated and belittled people, I didn't like that. And to me, he sounded like he had a temper. I mean, he just sounded like that. And then what happened when he beat up the exec and he took the plea or whatever happened with that, it's like he had issues. And I think he should have got therapy long before, long before he got therapy, whatever he says that he got. But that's just me. I'm just saying. Liddell said, ha, ha, ha. I got a close-up look at the actual tape. I'm actually not a fan of Diddy's music, but a fan of the truth. I can respect that, Liddell. I can respect that. But how did you look at the tape? Lindell, let me know. How did you get a chance to look at the tape? And where can I find it at? Huh? Do you work for the feds? Do you work for the feds? Is that what's happening? Were you one of Diddy's, like, did you go to a white party? Lindell, you got to give us more information. We need more information. Jay-Z already went to the Supreme Court for that Ramir case. And what happened, Earl? What happened at the Supreme Court? You talking about the United States Supreme Court or just the Supreme Court over there in New York? There's a difference. No paternity test was ever taken in any case. This from Cutie Pie. Cutie Pie, how you know? Are you really Raymel? Are you his aunt or his cousin? How do you know? Were you there? Are you like the only paternity test company in the United States, so you know it had to go through you? How do you know? Y'all saying some matter of fact stuff in here. See, this is what the problem is with some of these people getting sued for defamation. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I'm saying when you say things in a matter of fact of a way, then you can't say it was just my opinion, because you're saying it in a way that as if it's factual. That's why I'll say according to this document, or allegedly according to what they're saying. I don't know what's true and what's not, because I don't want to make it like it's a matter of fact, because I don't know none of these people. That's what I'm saying. They are Andrew. They are speaking like they know these people. Lindell, where you go? Don't leave now, Lindell. Don't do that. The boy said it. So we just believe what the boy said. So that means we need to believe what Jane Doe said then. That means we need to believe what everybody say. So he could say anything. What that mean? Oh my gosh. I thought you knew him. He said it in an interview on YouTube. That makes it right. So allegedly there were no lawsuits. I mean, there were no paternity tests, because you don't know, Cutie Pie. I like your name and the picture on here, but you don't know. It's all alleged. Lindell, where you go? I'm trying to get off here. I've been on here for 2 hours. I need to get off here, but I need to know your relationship. How did you see the tape? How? So the shade, is that on the shade? Oh, shucks. Let me see. All right, we getting off of here for real, because I see y'all not going. Jay-Z has been investigated by the feds, SEC, and IRS a few years back, and they found nothing. Okay, Elite Leo. The boy is still, what is he suing for? Why is he suing for paternity? How you gonna make a grown-up have a grown-up take a paternity test? What are you suing for? You're just wasting your money. He said he doesn't want any money, right? So what else could you possibly want? You want to be a part of the will if he dies? Per TMZ, Jane Doe says the mogul is allegedly intimidating and terrifying her. Court documents claim Jay tries to bully Doe into saying her accusations are bogus. In addition, she claims she was recently approached outside her home and cornered by 2 people who told her they were investigators working for one of Jay's lawyers. Doe also claims the people tried to get her to sign an affidavit stating that her sexual assault claims against Jay were false. However, she refused. Reports add the woman also claims the alleged investigators asked if Busby sought her out as a client and offered her money to pursue false claims against the rap mogul. Doe denied both allegations. The woman says the alleged confrontation left her intimidated and terrified. Doe claims her parents were also approached by two investigators asking similar questions about Busby and the alleged sexual assault. Oh my. Well, there's that. So yeah, Jane Doe sticking to what she's saying. This lawsuit was basically filed to try to stop, to get ahead of her coming out to say what she just said. Lord have mercy. Thank you, Roxy. She said, "You're the best, Pam. Thank you." Filed a federal lawsuit to fight against Mississippi deplorable prison conditions, fought New York laws for rap lyrics not to be used as evidence, helped Lil Uzi, Meg, and others get out of their bad contracts. Yes, Jay-Z has done that. I agree. He could have easily tried to pay her off. I believe her. That's power to tread global. Tyler said, everyone knows that affidavit ain't worth the paper they written on. Oh my goodness. That's how you feel about affidavits? Elite Leo said he's bailed out protesters, pushed back against stop and frisk, made Khalif Browder documentary to bring awareness to that situation. Hope get Meek Mill out of jail. Fought for. Are you letting us know all that Jay-Z has done for the community? I got you, Elite Leo. I got you. I appreciate that. All right, y'all. It's been real, but it's been 2.5 hours too. So if anything happens, and I'll be back this week with something. Let me see if they. So that was motion for leave to file. Who filed that though? And that was Sean Carter. I'm trying to see if I missed something else while I've been on here. Okay, I see Jay-Z's cousins and Diddy's cousins done left the chat. Nobody want to say anything now. Everybody quiet. I just asked a simple question. Like, I wanted to know. Yeah, I don't see nothing on here. Trying to make sure before I get off of here. Make sure ain't nothing exciting happen. All right, you guys. You guys have a great night. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Talk soon.